PR Connections Radio presents.
Welcome to Vegas Hockey Hub here in the sports and entertainment capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada, on prconnectionsradio.com, the voice of new media. I'm your host, Ian Rakelli. It's going to be a fantastic edition of Vegas Hockey Hub with your host, Ian Rakelli. Follow us on social media at Vegas Hockey Hub and follow the show at Ian Rakelli18. And if you want to go to the PR Connections Radio YouTube channel, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Turn on the notification bell to not miss any content on the PR Connections Radio YouTube channel. And if you are on the Vegas Hockey Hub YouTube channel, we post five videos a week onto that YouTube channel. We do shorts, we do episodes. There's a lot of content going on to Vegas Hockey Hub and its YouTube channel. So if you're on that channel, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so not miss any episode of Vegas Hockey Hub. What a great episode we are going to have for tonight's show, as we're going to talk about not only the starting goaltender, not only the Stanley Cup winning goaltender, but in all honesty, we're talking about the goaltender your Vegas Golden Knights needed. The guy who Vegas truly needed at the right place at the right time. And of course, I'm talking about this guy right here, Adin Hill. And before we really get into the present, before we start talking about what he is going to be doing long term, let me take you back just a little bit. Let me give you a little bit of a reference point as to who Adin Hill is. So if we're going to go all the way back to the beginning, we have to go back to the Western Hockey League, and that is when he was with the WHL and the Portland Winterhawks. By the way, fantastic jerseys out there in Portland. I know that it's kind of a homage to the Chicago Blackhawks, but I don't care. It's a fantastic jersey. If anybody watched my top 10 favorite NHL jerseys of all time, you will know that the Chicago Blackhawks, those red home jerseys, are in my top 10 among the favorite NHL jerseys of all time. So, of course, I would love the Portland Winterhawks jerseys with Adin Hill. So, Adin Hill played for Portland for 3 seasons. All right, for 3 years, he was in the Western Hockey League. He was the goalie in Portland, and this guy really did well in Portland. He really showed what he was made of, as not only did he have a 67 wins, 38 losses, and 7 ties, because yes, there are ties in that league. Not only did he have 5 shutouts, but more importantly, he consistently helped Portland get better and better throughout the time. And he was progressing as a goaltender. You saw confidence in a guy like Adin Hill. If you go back and look at highlights of Portland during that time period, around 2013, 2014, 2015, Adin Hill is a bright spot on that roster, and he is actually one of the best reasons of Portland being successful during that time. So I will say, when it comes to the Portland Winterhawks, them having a guy like Adin Hill was very important. Now, I may add, when it comes to the Portland Winterhawks of the Western Hockey League, they also had some conference championships as well during that time. And as a matter of fact, when it comes to Adin Hill and what he did as a Portland Winterhawk, it's actually pretty impressive when you consider what he had as a line on his line, considering what he had in terms of goaltending. So I will say, for Portland, during the 3 years he was there, keep in mind, those 3 years, they lost in the final in 2013, 2014. They went all the way to the Western Conference Finals in 2014, 2015. So for a guy like Adin Hill to be your starting goaltender and have it not only lose in the final, but to lose in the Western Conference Final back-to-back years, that is exceptional. And I will say, when it comes to Adin Hill, he did pretty well. And like I said, when it comes to his highlights and when it came to what he did as a player in Portland, it is incredible the fact that he did all these amazing things out there in Portland. So for Adin Hill, he had a pretty good tenure in Portland. Like I said, in 2014, in the Western Hockey League playoffs, they lost to Edmonton in the WHL playoffs. And then in 2015, he lost in the Western Conference final to Kelowna. So I will say for Adin Hill, he did exceptional in the 3 years he was in Portland. So after Portland, that's when he gets his opportunity. He becomes a Coyote, and he is the goaltender of the Arizona Coyotes, drafted 76 overall in 2015. Now, I want to take you back for just a quick minute, because the 2015 NHL draft is kind of legendary at this point. Not only did you have Connor McDavid, the best hockey player in the world, taken first overall, not only did you have a future teammate of Adin Hill in Jack Eichel go second overall, but this draft is elite. 2015. You have Mitch Marner, who went fourth overall. He has become an all-star guy in Toronto. You also had Timo Meier in the top 10. He became exceptional in San Jose. He is now out there in New Jersey. Mikko Rantanen helped the Colorado Avalanche win a Stanley Cup. He went 10th overall. You also had some really good established guys later in the first round. Kyle Connor in Winnipeg. Matthew Barzal with the New York Islanders. You also had Brock Besser. There's all these good talent in the bottom of the first round. But what I want to mention is that Adin Hill was actually not the first selected goaltender in 2015. And I know there's some people who are going to be shocked by that statement because, oh yeah, he's in the third round. Of course he wouldn't be the first goaltender selected. But what you might find surprising is that the first goaltender taken is Ilya Samsonov. Ilya Samsonov was drafted in the first round by Washington. He then moves over to Toronto, where he is now. So, okay, Adin Hill wasn't the first guy selected, but was he the second goalie taken in the draft? Is there a possibility that he was the second goaltender taken? No, he was not. That actually went to Mackenzie Blackwood, who was with the New Jersey Devils. Now he was traded to San Jose. We'll see how he does there. Okay, Adin Hill, he wasn't the second, but obviously had to be the third goaltender taken in this draft, right? I mean, considering what he did in Portland, he probably was the third guy taken, right? Wrong. That went to Felix Sandstrom from the Philadelphia Flyers. By the way, this is a guy who just started getting his opportunities in Philadelphia. You have to thank Carter Hart for that. But yes, it was the fifth goalie taken in the NHL draft was Adin Hill. You had 4 goalies taken before he went 67th overall in the 2015 NHL draft. So, Arizona Coyotes, they get Adin Hill, and even though he had a brief tenure in the ECHL, he had a small pit stop in Rapid City, he did something really interesting, and that was he was in the AHL for a good amount of time. I mean, this was a guy in Adin Hill who spent almost 4 full seasons in the AHL. I mean, you even got to see it right there. He was the all-time leader in wins with the Tucson Roadrunners. So for Adin Hill, he spent all that time in the AHL. He spent a good amount of time developing in Tucson, developing in Springfield. But I will point out to Adin Hill, his statistics in the AHL and what they did in the AHL, I actually have to give a little bit of praise to. Because this is a guy who had 6 shutouts. He had a goals against average under 3. And he actually had more wins than losses in the AHL. Now, some people are going to find that amusing. Some people are going to go, well, duh, obviously, if you're a good goaltender, you should have more wins than losses. But anyone who's watched minor league hockey knows that your statistics as a goaltender can fluctuate a lot. Depending on what league you're in and depending on what team you're in, if you have defense in front of you, it's going to help you out a lot. But if you have no defense, or if you don't have that many defensive prospects in front of you, your goals against average and your save percentage is not going to be that high. So for a guy like Adin Hill, who actually, if you go to AHL.com, it says that he spent 7 seasons in the AHL, because of course they count one-off appearances. And for Adin Hill, the fact that he actually helped the Tucson Roadrunners into the playoffs in 2018, the 2018 AHL playoffs. I have to point that out as well. That's something I didn't realize until making this video, is that Adin Hill helped Tucson get into the second round of the 2018 AHL playoffs. Of course, that was where they lost to Texas, who is the affiliate of the Dallas Stars. So Adin Hill spent 3 whole seasons in the AHL. He got all that experience in Tucson. He did pretty well. But what would he do when he eventually gets called up into the NHL? What would he do when he inevitably gets the call? Well, as you can see right there, he made his NHL debut in October 2017 against the Dallas Stars. And despite only making 4 starts in 2017, 2018, he had a promising future. In fact, a lot of people wanted to point out that Adin Hill in his first 2 seasons in Arizona showed promise. He had some potential in Arizona. There were some bright spots in Arizona. Now, what ended up happening with Adin Hill is that the 4 seasons he spent in Arizona was mediocre. And I'm putting that nicely, okay? They were mediocre in Arizona. This was an Arizona Coyotes team that was in a rebuild. Then they got out of a rebuild. They were in the tournament during the 2020 bubble. I mean, this is an Arizona Coyotes team that was just kind of in limbo during this time. I also have to mention the Arizona Coyotes. They had a goaltender in Darcy Kuemper who eventually would get dealt to Colorado and win a Stanley Cup. He is now in Washington. So when it comes to Darcy Kuemper, he was already the main guy. Adin Hill was the backup in Arizona, a promising backup, but a backup nonetheless. And as you see his statistics there on the screen, only 19 wins to 21 losses, a 2.90 goals against average. That save percentage about 90%, but you have to keep in mind what team he was playing on. I've always said this about goaltenders. You are only as good as the team around you. I mean, you could be the greatest goaltender in the NHL, but if you have a terrible defense in front of you, it's not going to work out. So 2 things happened to Adin Hill in the summer of 2021. Or more should I say, the year of 2021. Because the first thing that happened is that the IIHF, the World Championship, the International Ice Hockey Federation, the International Ice Hockey Federation World Championship, he was named to Team Canada. And not only was he named to Team Canada, he was named on the same roster as his Arizona Coyotes teammate, Darcy Kuemper. And Kuemper and Hill both won the gold medal for Team Canada. And during the World Championship, he actually caught people's attention because he played in 3 games, and he did actually a good enough job in those 3 games. So because Adin Hill helped Team Canada get a gold medal in the World Championship, a few months later, the Arizona Coyotes would trade Adin Hill. And they would trade him and a future 7th round pick to San Jose for a fellow goaltender and a 2nd round pick. Now, his tenure in San Jose is brief. I'm not going to sit here and try to overanalyze it. All right, he was kind of in the same situation he was in Arizona. San Jose was on the downside. They had Martin Jones as their goalie. They eventually had Jonathan Bernier. There was some interesting goaltenders in net, to say the least, with San Jose. But his stats in his one and only season in San Jose, 10 wins, 12 losses, 2 shutouts, and his goal against average went down to a 2.66, better than the 2.90 he had in Arizona. And his performance in San Jose caught the attention of Kelly McCrimmon. His performance in San Jose caught the attention of your Vegas Golden Knights. And we know that it caught their attention because he would get flipped in the 2022 NHL offseason after Robin Leonard was announced that he would not be playing in 2022. Logan Thompson was going to be the starting goaltender. The Vegas Golden Knights needed a reliable backup to Logan Thompson. They needed someone who could come in and they would trust to get the job done. So, August 29th, 2022, the San Jose Sharks traded Adin Hill to their division rival, to the Vegas Golden Knights, who the Vegas Golden Knights and San Jose Sharks have one of the most bitter rivalries over the last decade in the NHL. So for Adin Hill to go from San Jose to Vegas for a 4th-round pick, it was a shock at the time. And I will say this about Adin Hill. Yes, he did start as a backup to Logan Thompson. Yes, he did have a short stint in Henderson at a middle point of the year. He played some games in Henderson. But what Adin Hill had was durability. No one can take away the fact that Adin Hill, in his 27 starts he made for the Vegas Golden Knights, he was reliable, he was dependable, and he was a veteran-minded goaltender the Vegas Golden Knights could trust to have their back. He was a goaltender that they could trust to get the job done in net. And that's exactly what Adin Hill did. As that season in 2022-2023, he had 16 wins, 7 losses, 1 overtime loss. He had a goals against average of 2.50, which went down from the year before, which was a 2.66. And he had a 91.5 save percentage, which was among the best he had in his career at that point. But let's not sit here and act like he didn't do what he did in the playoffs, okay? Because in the playoffs, Adin Hill was supposed to be the backup to Laurent Brisebois. He was supposed to be the backup to Brisebois. Brisebois was supposed to be the starting goaltender for your Vegas Golden Knights. And for the first round of the series against Winnipeg, that's exactly what happened. In the first round, Brisebois was the guy for Vegas. He helped them get past Winnipeg. And for Game 1 and Game 2, it looked like it was going to be the same measure. It looked like Laurent Brisebois was going to be the goalie that helped Vegas in the Stanley Cup playoffs. But unfortunately, he got hurt, and Adin Hill had to step in and help the Vegas Golden Knights. And I don't know if it was because of his confidence in the next game up, or if it was the fact that Adin Hill played excellent enough to get them past Edmonton, that Adin Hill had a certain confidence, a certain swagger to him that helped Vegas get past Dallas in the Western Conference Finals. But I want to point out something with Adin Hill when it comes to the Adin Hill playoffs that he had. His statistics in the Stanley Cup playoffs should not be undervalued, okay? It should not be undervalued what he did for your Vegas Golden Knights in the Stanley Cup playoffs. He went 11-4, had 2 shutouts. He had a whopping 2.17 goals against average and a 93.2 save percentage. Keep in mind, his best save percentage up to that point in the NHL was a 91.8. So for him to go from a 91.8 to a 93.2 in terms of save percentage in 14 starts for your Vegas Golden Knights in the playoffs was incredible. He played on his head for Vegas, and more importantly, he played like a team leader. He played like a goalie that Vegas needed for the Stanley Cup playoffs. He was a goalie that Vegas had to have in net that night, and he made sure that they were not going to regret the fact that he was in net for your Vegas Golden Knights. In fact, he did so well for the Vegas Golden Knights that this play is going to be hanging up in a museum one day. All right, this play is going to be infamous for all Vegas Golden Knights fans to come, okay? This play right here, robbing Nick Cousins, who used to be a Vegas Golden Knight, by the way. This is a play that will live in infamy for Florida. This is a play that will live on forever for Vegas Golden Knights fans. It doesn't matter if it's 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now. Vegas Golden Knights fans are always going to remember this play right here of Adin Hill robbing Nick Cousins in Game 1. You also are going to remember plays that he did where he made this excellent save, robbing Anthony Duclair later in the series. It was a left-to-right play. Duclair had him dead to rights, and Adin Hill blocked the shot. So I will say for Adin Hill, he did an exceptional job for your Vegas Golden Knights. And yes, he did win the Stanley Cup. He did raise the Stanley Cup. And he did so well that he finished behind Marchessault and Eichel in Conn Smythe Trophy voting. I mean, I was making an argument on this show as it was happening that Adin Hill should have been the Conn Smythe Trophy MVP. He should have been playoff MVP. I made that argument here on the show. So, as we are talking about Adin Hill, the goalie Vegas needed here on Vegas Hockey Hub, I'm your host, Ian Rickelli. Now, what is the future for Adin Hill? You know, what is Adin Hill's future with the Vegas Golden Knights? Because keep in mind, he was supposed to be a free agent at the end of the year. He could have gone anywhere. Well, instead, Adin Hill made a smart decision and signed a 2-year, $9.8 million contract extension to stay here in Las Vegas. So for 2023, 2024, 2024, 2025 season, Adin Hill is going to be your netminder here in Vegas. And keep in mind, you still have Logan Thompson in net. You still have a guy in Logan Thompson who can do very well for the Vegas Golden Knights. In fact, I'm going to make an argument to you that it's one of the most underrated goaltending duos in the NHL. Adin Hill and Logan Thompson, a Stanley Cup winner in Hill and an all-star in Thompson. You have an underrated goalie tandem here in Vegas. You have a tandem that should be one of the best in hockey. So as we've been talking about Adin Hill, I do want to mention one more thing. Because with Adin Hill, I have to mention that there is something about Adin Hill that I did not include, something that I did leave out. When it came to the Adin Hill situation, I forgot to include the fact that Adin Hill was drafted in the same round, by the way, as Keegan Kolesar. Keegan Kolesar was drafted 69th overall. Adin Hill was drafted 76th overall, which I always found kind of hilarious. You have two Golden Knights players drafted in the same round in the exact same draft. But let's get back to what we're talking about here. When it comes to Adin Hill, he is a guy that I think Vegas will trust long-term. He is someone the Vegas Golden Knights are going to rely on long-term. Now, with Adin Hill, he became a hero here in Vegas. He became the unlikely hero Vegas didn't see coming, but the hero Vegas desperately needed. I mean, this guy received the largest contract he has ever received in the NHL. He got a 2-year deal, the biggest contract his entire career. Of course, he was going to take it. Now, this is what's going to be the question mark. He has gotten money to be a mid-tier starter, a high-end backup. His contract that he got, all right, he got a $4.9 million deal. That is a mid-tier starter or a high-end backup. Remember that Robin Leonard and Marc-Andre Fleury, they were getting about $6 million and $7 million combined. Okay, there was a time where you had $12 million just for two goalies here in Vegas. We also had the Carey Price situation in Montreal where you had Jake Allen and Carey Price. So we have seen expensive backups in the NHL before. So for Adin Hill, is this going to be a 1A, 1B situation with Logan Thompson? Or is Adin Hill the official starting goaltender for next year and Logan Thompson being the backup? To me, it's a fair question. I have to ask everyone watching around the world. Is Adin Hill the official undisputed starter here in Vegas heading into next year? Or is Bruce Cassidy going to do what's best for business and have a 1A, 1B type of situation where Adin Hill will play 41 games and Logan Thompson will play 41 games? Because, yes, we have seen that before in the NHL. We have most likely seen that same scenario in other places. Now, normally in the NHL, let me explain how this works. Mostly in the NHL, if you have a good goalie and a solid backup, it's about 60-40, okay? You get about 48 games for the starter, and you get about 32 for the backup. And then if you have a fantastic goalie that you're going to run into the ground, he could start about 55 games, and the backup will start about 27. Now, I've always believed that if you have an even matchup at goaltender, where you have two excellent goaltenders, Adin Hill is, Logan Thompson is, I think if the Vegas Golden Knights was doing pretty well, here's the way I would do it. And this is just my opinion. This is just what I would do. But when it comes to the Vegas Golden Knights, I don't want to run down the goaltending situation. I don't want to make these guys get burnt out. I don't want to overuse one of them. Here's what I would do with Adin Hill and with Logan Thompson. So the situation I would do is I would have a 50-50 deal where essentially Adin Hill would start. He would start, I would say, about 45 games, and Logan Thompson, he would play about 37. To me, that makes a lot of sense. That's about 55-45, okay? I'm not saying 50-50. I'm saying 55-45. I think Adin Hill and Logan Thompson would be excellent. I'm just pointing out that I don't believe that Adin Hill is going to have to play 55, 60 games. You have a quality backup in Logan Thompson. So I will say when it comes to the Vegas Golden Knights and what they have, I truly believe that you don't have to have Adin Hill play 50 games and then Logan Thompson do 32. All right? Or I don't think you have to have a scenario where, for example, I'm going to toss one more team out there. We saw the Boston Bruins, they had a pretty even split with Jeremy Swayman and with Linus Ullmark. So you had Ullmark and you had Swayman. I don't think you have to have a situation where Adin Hill has to play 62 games and Logan Thompson plays 20. So my opinion on all of that is that I would have about 50-32 or maybe 45-37 for Hill and Thompson. I don't think Hill needs to play more than 50 when you have a quality goaltender in Logan Thompson behind him. Now, everyone watching around the world, you give me your opinion on it. You give me your prediction on it. Because I want to know if you agree or disagree with me on that. But I say to everyone watching around the world, when it comes to Adin Hill, him being the goalie that he is, my split would be 50 games for Adin Hill, 32 for Logan Thompson. Or, if you want to make it more even, 45 for Hill, 37 for Thompson. So, it's really going to be up to what the Vegas Golden Knights do. I'm not saying the Golden Knights should or have to do anything. I'm just a guy talking. But when it comes to the Vegas Golden Knights, that's what, in my opinion, I would get accomplished. So, this was an episode of Vegas Hockey Hub where we talk about Adin Hill and him being the goalie Vegas needed here in Vegas. So, I'm your host, Ian Rakelli. Follow me on social media at IanRakelli18 and follow the show at Vegas Hub and follow the network at PR Connections Radio. Once again, that is PR Connections Radio. And until next time, continue watching hockey, go support junior hockey, and go Knights, go!
PR Connections Radio presents